Hello, public speaking class. My name is Erica Anderson and I'm your instructor. Our class will be completely online, despite that it probably still says hybrid due to the whole coronavirus situation. We are moving completely online. So I will just go ahead and say it that this is the first time that I have done an online public speaking class, and I imagine that a lot of you are wondering how that's going to work. I'm going to try to explain it the best that I can, but basically the things that matter is that I'm going to be very flexible with how this goes, just based on everything that's going on in the world right now, as well as the fact that this is the only class that I teach at Cabrillo. I do work full-time with the county, so I'm not available a lot to be kind of fussing around with this stuff. So, and especially with working with the county, you're considered a disaster relief worker. So I am currently still working every day. So we are going to make this as easy as possible, as well as hopefully you'll get to learn and be a little bit more comfortable with public speaking. So I'm going to go over how the class is going to work, our syllabus, as well as chapters 1 through 3. So this will be the week 1 module. So if you are looking in Canvas, which you should be since this is where you'd get the video from, our week 1 module has a discussion board post, a quiz, and then a couple of links to videos that I really enjoy for public speaking anxiety, as well as a video with some breathing exercises for anxiety. So if you look under files in our course on Canvas, you'll find the syllabus, which would be helpful if you downloaded it, as well as our textbook, which loads much faster if you click download. If you have if you have trouble finding our textbook, you can also just Google The Art of Public Speaking by Stephen Lucas with PDF after, and you should be able to find a version of it that you can use. Alrighty, so to get started into this syllabus, I have not had a lot of tech. I've had a lot of tech issues with Cabrillo, and because of that, I've listed my cell phone number because my faculty email seems to not want me to access it. So I've also included my personal email, and I've sent that out to you guys as well. So please just get a hold of me however you see fit. If you send me a text, we can set up an appointment for a phone call, FaceTime, whatever you want to do. So our class meetings will be online only. Our textbook is free and online. The PDF is under files, download it. The other different thing, because I'm sure you're like, okay, how am I going to publicly speak? You're going to get a lot of practice with writing speeches, as well as hopefully some practical knowledge on creating a video and submitting it over the internet. But there is no way that I can make you have an audience that you're giving these speeches to. If you want to make it challenging for yourself, if you have roommates, family that you live with, a partner, you can give the speech in front of them or have them film it for you. But that's not a requirement. So I did create a YouTube account for us just to give you multiple options for submitting your videos, because I personally had a little bit of trouble with Canvas. So I want to make sure that there is some way for you to submit your videos when that time comes. And you won't be judged on quality. So like to film this video, I'm using my iPhone with good lighting. That really helps. But if you have an older phone or an old camera, or maybe you just want to use the webcam on your computer, whatever works, really whatever works. And if you're having trouble with technology or access to technology, please get in contact with me so we can figure something out. So the email and password for, it's called publicspeakingvideos@gmail.com. And that will be how you can log into the YouTube to submit it up there. And the reason I did it this way was that you can upload it as a private video, but anyone who has the login would be able to view it. So that way I can view it, your classmates can view it, so on. Okay, so there's a lot of stuff in the syllabus that you can just read through as far as like our course policies, different things that the university wants us to include. So I'll just hit the things that I would hit if we were in class together. So there'll be zero tolerance for academic dishonesty. Given that you're supposed to be social distancing, I'd imagine that there won't be a lot of cheating. But the main thing with this class is I will know if your speech was plagiarized, so just don't do it. Don't be weird. Write your own speech, do your own research, cite your sources, which I'll go over. Email policies, like I said, I work full-time, so give me about 48 hours to respond. Honestly, sending me a text is going to be the best way. Send me a text with maybe a really specific question, not a long question, or saying that you'd like to set up a time to talk. That would work for me. If you do send me an email, vague questions like I'm really confused about this class are not going to be enough for me to answer your questions. So really make sure that your emails are respectful, specific, something that I can answer. Okay. We'll say classroom etiquette in here is obviously a little different than we normally would have in our class, but basically what I'd like to say about this is I want everyone to be able to respond to people's speeches, discussion board posts, and things like this. I understand that that's going to be really difficult because something that I've done for our course to make it easier for all of us is that every assignment just has the final deadline of when the semester is over, May 19th. And I did this so that those of you who would like to just get this over with because things are confusing, or maybe you need to wait a week or two before starting, there is no deadline for any of these speeches. The week 1, week 2, week 3, how it's set up in the modules is how I would recommend doing it to really keep track of where you're at. But everything is due the final day of the class. That does not mean that it would be possible for you to wait until the last week of the semester and then decide that you're going to write all your speeches, record them, and submit them. Please don't do that. That would be bad for you, and I would not appreciate it. So let's not be weird. But if you do get the opportunity to review some of your peers' speeches, there is a discussion board post on it. So I'm hoping that you can all at least review 1 or 2 of the speeches of your peers and respond to them. And it should be respectful and just the same thing as if we were in class. I know that sometimes when we have a screen, it kind of gives us maybe this confidence that we wouldn't normally have to maybe be rude or disrespectful or feel that we can make comments that maybe we shouldn't, that are inappropriate. Let's not do it. Okay. Late work in here, I typically do not accept late work, but like I said, everything is due by May 19th. May 19th is also my deadline for you letting me know if there's something missing from the grade book or something has been graded incorrectly or whatever. That's when I'll be finalizing everything. If you have an issue with a grade, you can challenge it. There's directions in here for how to do that. I will imagine that there will be technical difficulties. If you wait until May 9th to tell me all of them, there's not going to be a whole hell of a lot that I can do. So try to keep track of where you're at, figure out how this is going to work for you. If it's going to work for you, if it's not, let me know, contact IT, the help desk, figure out how this is going to work for you. I will not have specified office hours. Everything will be by appointment. So get in touch with me if you need to meet. You will need something to be able to record your speeches. I'll go over all the assignments pretty quickly here. But like I said, cell phone, camera, laptop, something to record your speeches. Okay. So your first speech assignment is the elevator speech. This is worth 30 points. It's where you will present yourself to the class as if you're meeting a new employer or future employer for the first time. So maybe tell us your name, your major, where you're from, what you hope to accomplish, where you hope to work, your dream job, whatever you want. Typical brief 1-minute speech. And this should be a video uploaded to either directly to Canvas or to that YouTube channel. Next, we'll have the organization speech. This is worth 50 points. This is a also brief 2 to 3 minute speech where you'll introduce the class to an organization and that organization's contributions to society or even at the local level. So I have my personal background is in nonprofit work and organizational and political communication. So I really enjoy hearing these speeches because I've lived in Santa Cruz for 2 years and there are so many great nonprofits. I've worked with the Friends of the Santa Cruz Public Libraries as their campaign manager. I currently work for the county with the Santa Cruz County Animal Shelter, who works directly with a foundation that fundraises on their behalf. And I also volunteer with CASA. I'm a court-appointed special advocate with foster youth. And all those organizations that I just listed have so many cool things that they do within the community and events that they participate in. So I enjoy hearing about all these organizations, and I also enjoy seeing what people select as far as what's important to them. And I think it's important for us to know about these nonprofits so we can share the resources that they offer with other people in our community. So that's why I have that. Okie dokie. Informative speech. Here we go. Informative speech will be submitted as a podcast, so you get a break from videoing yourself because I know it is awkward and probably not ideal for anyone unless you're used to doing like YouTube blogs or, I don't know, long Instagram videos or something. TikTok. I don't know what people are into. So your informative speech will be a 5 to 6 minute speech or talk. So you'll write out your full script. You'll follow my practical public speaking outline writing guide, which is one of the required materials, and it's under files. And we'll go over that. So this is 100 points. Topics should be significant. You can explain a process, you could explain coronavirus, you could explain social distancing, if you want to stick with something that's current events related. We're also in the midst of presidential campaigning and elections. You could talk about something related to that. Something that's interesting to you and that you think other people would be interested in to learn about. So you'll create a podcast. You can use the tools that I've provided on our module. There's lots of resources on YouTube. You can record directly to YouTube from your webcam. You could record a voice memo on your cell phone. There's lots of ways that you can do this. If you need help figuring out how you will do a podcast, this is a very easy way to get an easy 100 points. I will say that. So have fun with it. If you are into music, you could include a little music intro. If you want to include a sound bite from maybe a speech or something like that, you could include that. So there's a lot of wiggle room here to be creative and to really make it your own. If you've never listened to a podcast before, I have some podcasts listed. There's a podcast called What the Speak, and it's all public speaking related. You can also go to Spotify, Apple Music, Apple Podcasts, and listen to some podcasts and see like what you like and get an idea of maybe what you want it to sound like. Okay, our main big assignment is our persuasive speech. I normally do this with a PowerPoint, and instead of completely restructuring my point values for this course, y'all will get the points for doing a PowerPoint, but do not do a PowerPoint. You do not have to. So this is a 6 to 7 minute speech, should address a controversial topic. We'll go over all that in a later video. In all these speeches, you need to be citing sources, and usually I say it's about a source per minute. So for example, if your informative speech is 5 minutes, it should have about 5 orally cited sources, meaning you will say, according to the New York Times, so-and-so said blank. In your persuasive speech, if it's about 7 minutes, you should have 7 orally cited sources. Okay. Your last speech is an event speech. This is about 3 minutes. It can be something like pretending it's your best friend's wedding, a funeral, an award ceremony, commencement. I have listed on our main page my my commencement speech that I gave for my master's degree ceremony, and you can watch that. It's probably about 7 minutes. But you can kind of see how it's different from the typical structured speeches, like the informative and persuasive, which is what we really focus on in this class. So I want to give you the opportunity to make this your own. You could pretend you're making a toast. Maybe you've already done something like this and you want to take what you've learned throughout the class and make it more inspiring, include a quotation maybe from your favorite author or an inspiring speaker or something like that. Okay, so for your speeches, the organization speech, the informative and persuasive, those all have outlines that are submitted with the speech. You need to follow my practical public speaking outline writing guide for how those should look. It's very specific. There are examples under files as well as in certain spots on the module. There's also speech examples from past students that I've taught. And I want to see specifically on the informative and persuasive speeches for that to be strictly followed. There are rubrics, those are also listed in the files, and that is how I grade the speeches. So when I'm watching them, I'll be looking at those rubrics and determining where your speech falls. So for example, it's like advanced. Advanced is the top that you can get. So like if you checked all advanced, you're gonna have about an A speech. So it's helpful to look at that and see the notes that are written in there to determine maybe where you're gonna be at or where you want to be. Okay, so we have discussion board posts and quizzes in this course, as well as participation points. Participation points are gonna be based on if you do the discussion board posts, if you thoughtfully respond to or comment on your classmates' videos and things like that, but it's going to be very flexible. But I would really like to see y'all participating in that way. Okay. We have the grading in here that shows how many points you need to get out of 1,000 to get an A, B, C. And then we have the schedule. And let's see, I think we are at a point where I will do chapters 1 through 3. So let's check out the textbook. So your first quiz will be on chapters 1 through 3. So I am just gonna briefly go over this because I want you to be reading it. But this is what I would do if we were in class. So I feel like we have to make up for time somehow. And also, I really enjoy talking. So I'm gonna miss out on a whole semester of talking. It's sad. Okay, and before we get started, I just wanna say also, because I normally do like a little introduction and I've shared some things about me, but I'll just say, so I currently am the Program and Development Manager at the Santa Cruz County Animal Shelter. I run all of our programs that are related to free and low-cost resources for the community when it comes to animal care. I also plan and organize all of our events and fundraising, and I really enjoy it. But in my experience is I'm from the Central Valley, Oakdale, California, if anyone's familiar with it, near Modesto. I started out at a junior college. I did my first 2 years at Columbia Junior College, which is located in Sonora, California. I hated school. I wanted to drop out of high school. I really, really struggled. And I thought I wanted to do something in the medical field, something that I could do like a tech school. And when I started going in that direction, I realized that I just could not handle the science classes. So I pretty quickly tried to find something else, English major, something like that. And to prepare for transfer, I had to take public speaking. And I'm a very competitive person, and the class was set up in a competitive way. And I just kind of took off with it and really enjoyed it. And still to this day, when I speak publicly, my hands are shaking. I experience that public speaking anxiety. It's not easy for me. There's a video that's listed in here that talks about public speaking anxiety and a woman who was a news anchor her whole life, and how every time right before the camera would start rolling, her heart was pounding. And I completely understand that feeling, because it still happens to me every time, no matter how prepared I am. And that's when I kind of decided that that was something that I would like to help other people with, because it was something that I struggled with, but overcame in a way that kind of inspired me. And I call myself an adrenaline junkie for public speaking. It's just something that I enjoy doing. So I ended up transferring from that junior college to Stanislaus State in Turlock. I lived at home. I worked multiple jobs while I was doing that to be able to go to school. I ended up working for the campus radio station for a time, doing their public relations, media management, marketing, stuff like that. And when I graduated, I was selected to give the commencement speech at my bachelor's ceremony, and I was really sad to be done with school. So I took off a year because I wasn't sure what I was going to do. Took off a year and worked in human resources and marketing for a small company, and realized that I wanted to get my master's degree. So I applied to a bunch of schools with the goal of being able to teach public speaking while I was in the grad program. And I got an offer at CSU Chico. So I moved to Chico, was there for 2 years, taught public speaking to hundreds of freshmen, as well as coached on the very competitive speech and debate team, which was really fun. I really enjoyed doing that, and I can share some videos from that time and some of the student videos that I have on here from students from there that placed at the national level with informative and persuasive speaking. But there's also some really great speeches that are like oral interpretation of literature and poetry and things like that that are really fun to watch, and just kind of gives you an idea of other directions that people take public speaking when they are in the communication studies realm. So when I graduated from there, I gave the commencement address as well, and I ended up getting a job offer in Santa Cruz to be the campaign manager at the Friends of the Santa Cruz Public Libraries. Worked with them for about 8 months before getting my job at the county that I currently have. So last semester, I taught public speaking with Cabrillo for the first time. And it was a hybrid short semester course, which was a first for me, and it was very exciting, and I really enjoyed it. So I've been wanting the opportunity to teach a public speaking class fully online. This is not necessarily the way that I would recommend doing it, but here we are. So bear with me. Please contact me if you have any questions. Please contact me if there's other things that you might be interested in. I have made it a point to embed myself in the community here and the things that I'm involved with, and I'm happy to share the resources that I have. If you're interested in working for a local nonprofit, if you want help with things like that, I'm happy to be that resource for you. Okay, chapters 1 through 3, let's do it. So, speaking in public, they talk about the power of public speaking, the traditions of public speaking, similarities between public speaking and conversation. And that's something that I like to point out to you all, that what I'm doing right now is public speaking. It has maybe a late effect in that anxiety, is that I'm going to upload this video and hopefully all of you watch it. And when we're speaking in public in any time, in any context, it could be in a meeting with 6 other employees or coworkers, that is practicing your public speaking skills. And I think that's sometimes something that we forget about when we think of public speaking. We picture ourselves in front of a large audience giving a speech, and that's not always the case. Okay, so they talk about developing confidence and how nervousness is normal, as well as going over some tips on how to deal with that nervousness. And I have some videos on our module as well. They relate public speaking and critical thinking, and talk about the speech communication process, which if I had a whiteboard, I would write this down for you, but read the textbook. Basically, we have the speaker, the message, the channel, the listener, feedback, interference, situation, and basically the speech communication process. And they give an example with commentary on page 21 that I think is helpful. Okay, they also discuss, this is a big chapter, they discuss public speaking in a multicultural world, so understanding cultural diversity in our modern world, cultural diversity in public speaking, as well as avoiding ethnocentrism, which you can read about what that is, so you can get it on the quiz. Chapter 2, Ethics in Public Speaking. I think this is a really interesting chapter considering our current political climate. And like I said, I kind of focused on organizational and political communication. I did a lot of research into how our families and parents specifically, how their political views impact and shape our own political views, which some of you are probably like, duh, of course it does. But for me, I grew up expressing the same political views as my parents, and then really quickly shifted and changed and developed my own views. So that's why it's interesting. Okay, so the importance of ethics, guidelines for ethical speaking. So make sure your goals are ethically sound, be fully prepared for each speech, be honest in what you say, avoid name calling and other forms of abusive language. They go over on page 34. You want to put ethical principles into practice. And most importantly, they talk about plagiarism and the different types of plagiarism. And for our speeches, it's really important that we orally cite our sources, because if you just go on and on listing, a topic that I use often for examples is, it's a persuasive topic. So to persuade my audience that embryonic stem cell research should be federally funded. It's a controversial topic because some people identify embryonic stem cell research as abortion because that embryo could have been a baby. If I used just knowledge from my own brain and I didn't say where it was coming from, I do not naturally know it. I'm not born thinking that this embryonic stem cell research should be federally funded. That is something that I've researched and gained knowledge from different sources, different scientists to determine that. So you have to cite those. So you have to tell us, according to so-and-so, and it's not Wikipedia. I think they go over that in this chapter as well. You have a lot of resources as college students. Your library has an online database. I'll make sure that that's shared in the syllabus and in our module, that you can search for peer-reviewed, academically, just academic journals that are considered ethical, that are considered good quality sources. So most of the time you will not just be Googling something, it should be scholars that you're citing. And because I'm not able to fully go over all of that stuff, I will be a little bit flexible, but Wikipedia will not qualify as a source. So don't do it. Do not do it. Okay, they also talk about being a courteous and attentive listener, avoid judgment of the speaker, and maintaining the idea of free and open expression of ideas. So guidelines for ethical listening. Chapter 3 is about listening, how it's important, how it plays into critical thinking, causes for poor listening, which I think is pretty self-explanatory, but it also comes and talks about how to be a good listener, how to become a better listener. And I think this can be utilized in lots of areas of our lives. I think for this class, we think about it more as how we can be a better listener when we're listening to our peers' speeches. But since you'll be watching speeches through video, I think it's better for us to think about taking listening seriously in all aspects of our life. You could think about it when communicating with your partner, with your parent, with your child, with a coworker, with your boss, that being an active listener who is able to resist distraction is going to be very beneficial in other areas of your life. Okay, so that was chapters 1 through 3. So you have your quiz. There is some video resources for you, and remember that everything is due May 19th, so there is no rush. If 1 week you have more things to do in another class, you could totally put this on hold. I would recommend really starting to think about what you want to write your speeches on and start getting some videos uploaded specifically for that elevator speech. It's 1 minute, and the organization speech, which is 2 to 3 minutes. I'd get those out of the way, so that way you can start focusing on the informative and persuasive speech. Alrighty. Email me, text me if you have questions.